This video is on the GA100. So this is a weight pad with the indicator built in. We also have the weight pad without the indicator, which has its own cables that go to a 903. That's a separate system. This one is going to show you the calibration and different settings, and this is useful for if you're getting the use errors across the screen. That could be because you're reaching the max capacity, could be because of the bad calibration, or maybe the weight pad itself is having an issue. So try to calibrate first, and that's what this video is going to try to explain. It also helps if you haven't, what I'm having, see where the fluctuating weight. So the tricky part is actually getting into the menu. So you have to turn it off. To actually get into the calibration menu, while it's turning on, you have to hold down the hold and tare button, or hold unit tare 0. And this is the mini weight pad, but there's also the bigger weight pad. So while it's turning on, while it's counting up, hold down these two buttons, and you see cal, kg. The GA100 cannot change from kg to pounds. So all of this, and this is the tricky part, everything we're going to be doing is going to be in kgs. Every setting we dial in is going to be kg. So the hold button would actually go to the next menu, while tare would actually cycle through it, and you'll see I can't change kg to anything else. So all these menus have to be done in pounds. Now DP1, so this is the amount of decimal places. So if you have the example of 3,000 pound, you could set it to, like, say, half a pound or 1 decimal place, but it's probably best to just keep it at 1 or 0 decimal places, because 1 pound accurate, because there might be some fluctuation. 3,000 pounds is a 5,000 pound 5,000 divisions load cell, so it might have issues. It might have some fluctuation at half a pound, maybe not. So I'm actually going to set mine to 0, but it depends on your capacity. We'll explain more a little later. You see, and press hold, you see D and then 02. So that's the division. That's how it's counting by. Right now it's counting by 2. So if you're doing it a 3,000 pound, then it should be 1, because it's only going to need to be 1 pound accurate, and that should be good enough. I have 0 decimal places and 1 pound accurate. If you have 1 decimal place, and let's say you want to put half a pound, you cycle through it, and you can see there's so many options. You can put 5. So now I have 1 decimal and counting by 5s, which would be 0.5 or half a pound accurate. So that in that case, let's say you had a 10,000 pound, then that would be accurate to 2 pounds. You take the capacity 10,000 divided by the amount of divisions, which is always 5,000. That's a constant number. So 10,000 divided by 5,000, that'd be 2 or 2 pound accurate. That's how we get estimate of the accuracy. And if it was like say 20,000 pound, 20,000 divided by 5,000 divisions of the load cell and the weight pads, that will be 20,000 divided by 5 will be 4. So what's closer to 4? It's 5. So we'll probably set that 2. We'll cycle through it to go to 5. So it really depends on the capacity that you have of the weight pad, as they kind of determine how many decimal places you shouldn't have any, and what the accuracy, or in this case the divisions, is going to be, or display how it's counting by. So in my case, I want it to be 1 pound accurate for my 3,000 pound weight pad, and we'll press the hold button. Now you'll see cap. This is capacity. So now we're going to dial in the capacity. So if you ever get an error, let's say it's supposed to go 3,000, but after 2,000 it's giving you this error because of capacity. So the power button moves left, and the tare button decrements the current flashing number. So if, for example, let's say I want to move left again, it will go back right. You see a flashing number. So if I want to make this to say 3,000 pound weight pad, so the capacity 3,000 pounds, and once it goes over 3,000 pounds, it'll give you the use error, all used across. So make it 3,000, and then once you selected it, and you know how to move left and move down, so you press hold. Now load. This is going to ask you how much weight are you going to be using. So the weight you're going to be using depends on the capacity of the pad itself. An example would be a 3,000 pound GA100 pad, recommended 10%, so maybe 300 pounds minimum. You can use whatever weight you want, and that's what actually we'll dial in. So when you press hold, we'll actually get into how much weight we're going to use. So remember, this is in kgs, kilograms, not pounds, kgs. So whatever you're going to be using, make sure it's the kilogram of that weight. If you have a 1,000 pound block, for example, you're going to have to convert 1,000 pounds to 454 kgs with no decimals, because that's the most accurate we could get it. So that's what we do here. We use 1,000-pound block all the time, but we have to convert it to kgs to actually dial in to the calibration. So if you're using, let's say 10,000 pounds, you want to use, you have recommended 10% of the max capacity, so that's 1,000 pounds. Or you're going to dial in whatever the kg equivalent of that is. So in my case, I'm just going to use a 20 kg. So I'm going to dial this down. Move left, the same process. But whatever the max capacity is, recommended 10%. Can you go less? Yes, you can, but it might affect the accuracy. If I'm using a calibration weight of, let's say, 100 pounds, but I'm normally weighing 10,000 pounds or 5,000 pounds, since your calibration weight is so different and so far off what you weigh normally, what you're weighing is going to be less accurate. So the closer in weight that you can use to what the actual weight you're going to be using, or the max capacity, the more accurate it's going to be your scale. So I know some people might not have exact weights. So if a 3,000 pound, for example, maybe you could use 200 pounds, like have someone standing on it is 200 pounds. That should be fine since it is close at 10%. And if you're normally weighing 1,000, 2,000 pounds, it shouldn't be too big a deal. If you try to do the same thing on, let's say, 10,000 pound GA100, using 200 pounds might not be enough. You might want closer to 500 to 1,000 pounds, around 10%. So right now, we dial in your weight, you press hold, you'll see cal on. That's good. Now load 0. So this is no weight on the scale. Load 0 means nothing on there. Make sure that pad is clear. Press the hold button. What you dial in, your weight, now you're going to add that weight to your scale. Okay, I added my weight on my pad. It says load 1, and you press hold. Mine, it says end. If you get load 2 and load 3, you could just leave the weight on there because it's asking for multiple points of calibration, meaning, let's say I want to use a different weight, but you could just use the same weight again and again and again. So load 1, press hold. Load 2, press hold. Load 3, if you see it, press hold until you see end. So now you could actually remove your weight from the scale, and let's see if it goes back to 0. Okay, I'm at end, no weight on the scale. Press hold. It's counting back up. So now 0 kgs. That's good. Now I'm gonna actually put my weight on there. Let's see if I get accurately what it is. Okay, so I got it correct. Mine is 20 kgs. That's exactly what my weight is. So you always test it out. I recommend taking it off just in case you need to turn it off, turn it back on, just to zero it out after you see end. So in that steps. And I'll just show you a couple more settings. You have to hold down the hold and tear button at the same time. And remember, it's plus or minus 1 pound accurate, so that's fine. Hold 2 buttons and you see another set of menus. So off 60, that's automatically power off. So this will notice after 60 minutes, if no change, it will turn off by itself so you don't kill your battery. So you decrease it by pressing the tear button. For example, let's leave it at 30. BL, so it's a backlight 2. So BL is constant, 2 is constant backlight, so you see the light always turns on. If I left it at 1, the screen will only light up when there's weight change on the scale. So, and at 0, just turn off the backlight entirely. I want to keep the backlight on, the screen on the whole time, but if you want to consider battery, maybe you only want to see when there's a weight change to actually light up. So, BL2 for constant backlight, UN5, and then 2. So that's the different units. I can spin on the screen the different ones. So you'll see UN5, 2, there's 1, there's 0, there's 3. That has to do with the display kgs only, kgs pounds, kg pounds, and newtons of force. So you'll see all different ones. So default should be 2. Hold. So hold is how it's going to hold the weight when I press the hold button. So right now it's set to manual hold. When I press the hold button in normal weighing mode, it will grab whatever weight is on the screen and hold on to that. If I wanted a peak hold, that's hold 1, so it grabs the highest weight that it sees on the pad. Sometimes I only care about what's heaviest I ever get on there. That's a hold 1 for. And then hold 3, that is for auto hold. So when it notices the weight is stable, it holds onto that weight and it shows it on the screen. You have something that's moving around, for example, and you can't keep it too still, but it's not moving too much. This will help stabilizing, just give you a weight so you don't get a fluctuating weight. So I leave it at a hold 2 for manual hold, and hold 0 just turns it off. HT1 is just how long it's going to hold, so it's for 1 second, and that's it. And you can cycle through the units. The hold button, you press it down, you see this hold, let go, release the hold, and you can hold down the whole unit button, and now you can see in pounds what I'm weighing. That's 44 pounds, that's correct. Hold on the units, hold the unit button again to change back. If you change the UN5 setting, you might go from kilogram to pounds to newtons. So if you ever had an issue where you're stuck on kgs and can't see the pounds, or you don't know how to change from newtons, ends of weight, to pounds or kgs, you had to change the UN5 setting. And that's it, and that's how you calibrate and change different settings in GA100 weight pads.